Thank you. That was gold there, Ryan. Thanks for sharing that. I think I might have missed it on the recording, so you might have to repeat that.
There'll be other nuggets, I promise.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I think when it's one of the challenges around that, if I may just share it in this moment right now, is the way that we energetically pull the person up with the intention to empower them and not disempower them, because some people can take it as they've been told off or as a negative. And it's like, and I think that's a good opportunity for us to reflect and go, hang on, was my intention the right, which clearly the intention is correct, but then was my communication effective for that person in that moment? Knowing that the communication element, especially the vibration and the frequency behind the communication, will need to shift at different points to get the message across. So I had a situation recently where, because of how much personal growth that I've done and the way that I do my best to show up, the message wasn't being received because I was still speaking in that if you will, higher level, that higher state. And it was very calm, and the person wasn't getting the message. And I had to actually shift into more of a state where the person was like, whoa. And when I did, the person received the message. And because I had to literally shift, one of the great people to watch, in my opinion, is Tony Robbins. And especially on his Netflix documentary of I'm Not Your Guru. If you watch him as he's doing that, and there's so many ways that we as we're evolving, that we start picking things up differently. But I like to watch Tony on how his facial expressions are, looking at him as in it, how he's energetically showing up. And one of the reasons why he's very adamant about the way when he swears at people. So he's not doing it because he's rude or anything. He actually does it to change the state. So the person shifts and listens and is in shock, but the rest of the room is in shock, and they engage and they become more involved in what he's saying rather than sitting back. Because if somebody's not engaged like completely, and they're like kind of looking at the phone and probably listening a bit, and then all of a sudden Tony screams at somebody and they're like, whoa, what's going on? They're back in the room. And so I think, not saying that we should go and scream at people, but I think there's a time and a place where there needs to be an energetic shift to help the person receive what they need to receive. And based on my experience. Veronica, I saw you put your hand up.
Yeah, I was just thinking of a couple of things there. I have been very bossy with my family and other people when I think I know better for them. And it has not played out well. And I finally worked out with my last coaching round with Gary, where I've actually become a coach, is that as a coach, you don't tell people what they need to do. You don't tell them to change their language. You invite them, and you just ask them to think about it. So instead of saying, don't say that, say this, you could even just say, would you like to rephrase that, and allow them to come up with something more powerful that they can own. And also another little trick, another little secret from coaching is calibrating people. So you work out where they're at, just with their body language and what they're saying, so you can come from their place and help them move forward. Because if you're too high up and they're down here, then they're not listening to you. They can't reach you. So it's really so important to like calibrate with whoever you're talking to. Someone else has described it to me as if you're going to visit someone and you're talking about their garden, not yours.
You're absolutely right, Veronica, but sometimes there is a need for a shock, I think. Not, if you do it all the time, it won't work, but sometimes, if nothing else has worked, it might be a good idea to, well, screaming is just a symbolic way of, talking about a shock.
Yeah,
You might
but
have to say
if you're
something.
screaming all the time, it doesn't work either.
No. You
The
may
shock will
be
work,
more,
yeah.
more to the point in a blunt way and very unpleasant. I hate doing it, but it sometimes works. Sorry.
Veronica, to your point, I feel like if the person, and to Martin, if the person isn't in receive mode, it can come off as judging, or my way is better than yours. And you may see their struggles, right? And you may be the person that they come to for help, or you may be the person that they vent to, and you're hearing they don't recognize it, but you're hearing the same story again and again and again. And all you want to do with all of your heart is help them. But in order to help them, they have to be willing to receive whatever it is that you want to say. And if they're not at that place to hear and receive the information to help them move past their situation, it unfortunately falls on deaf ears. And it's really sad, and it's really hard, especially when the person that you're trying to help is someone you love, or someone that's your family, or someone that you friend, and you see the potential in them, but they're their own worst enemy, and they are so accustomed to the situation that they're in that they're blind to the roadblocks that can easily be moved out of their way to get them in that upward trajectory.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, great share there, Ryan. Yeah, there's many situations, and I know from a family perspective, it's basically because we have that relationship and that love and care for them, that we have that such strong connection that we want the best for them, and sadly that comes down to what we want for them rather than what they want for themselves as well, and what they're ready to receive. As you say, they have to be open. I'm curious to know, and there's no pressure here, but is there anything coming up for you, Catherine, with what's being talked about and shared?
There's not. My circumstances are different. I live on my own, so I'm not kind of, and my family, they're around and about, but we're not in each other's pockets. So yes, if I had something to say and I wanted something better for them, then absolutely, I'd probably be a lot more passionate about it than I would to somebody that I'd just met a few weeks or something like that. If you care for somebody, generally, you really need to make your point. If you're not as close to them, then, it's a different set of circumstances.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing there. What about what's been shared from a point of self-talk? So have you had times, or anyone else had times, if Catherine wants to go first, that's fine, where you can consciously remember where you were speaking what you would class as negatively to yourself that wasn't serving you to get to where you wanted to get to? Can anybody remember a time, or even say, yes, I know there was a time in my life, but I can't remember exactly the words? Yeah, because I know there was for me.
I'd kind of, I always try to be really positive. So my phrase would be, I need help. I'm struggling with this. And not necessarily, I can't. I think that's a dangerous route to go down, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that, Catherine, because that's definitely an important. I think if we're going to ask that question, I need help, or it's a statement rather than a question. Where can I find help? One of the things was, and I think that's also an important factor, because, and my mum I'm confident my mum won't be triggered by this. There was a time where she would have been, but I know for 100% that I have stronger relationships with people I've met online and never physically met, that I could ask for help rather than family members. Now, I know my family would always open the door. I'm confident with that. But in regards to the ability to listen, to ask questions, to remain open-minded in regards to what I was sharing would be a challenge for majority of my family. Whereas the people that I've connected with, especially like on the you people on these calls, the people within the YDS community and so on, I am comfortable and confident in their ability to hold that space for me. And I'll give you an example of this. So in 2014, I went through a journey of depression where I almost took my life. Now, I was hospitalized, I was highly medicated and so on. My cousin from a child, from when I was a child, and he's 8 years older than me, was my idol, was my hero. And I idolized him all the way through. And I remember him ringing me and saying to me, I don't understand what you're going through, but all I want to do is get in front of you and punch you in the face. And I couldn't understand why he was saying that. And he said, it's not real. You shouldn't be going through it. You live in Australia. What's wrong with you? Toughen up. So that wasn't what I needed at that time, especially from somebody who I viewed as my idol, my hero. And the great thing about me receiving that and being able to appreciate that and learn from that and know that, thank you for showing up that way, because that isn't the way that I want to show up when I'm put in that situation where somebody is sharing this with me. And I think that's where it's really important to be aware of what's happening is always really to help us grow. And I remember saying to him, if it was that easy, I would get in the ring with Mike Tyson and ask him to hit me as hard as I could, as hard as he could, so he could get rid of it. But it wasn't something that could happen that way, and I had to evolve through that process. So that's an example of basically where my self-talk, so my auto-suggestion was, I am not worthy. I shouldn't be here. I'm of no value to anybody. I'm wasting oxygen in the world. That was my self-talk back then. Now, to give you some level of clarity as to how much I've evolved from that, I'll show you just this now in my abundance game within the NG software. This is an affirmation that I have. I love myself. I am worthy. I add value to the world. I bring joy to people's lives. I take time for myself. I am the most important person in my life. I give to others by giving to myself first. I'm a spiritual being evolving each day. I love my human experience. I choose to be here now. I chose to be here now to learn and share with the world. I am tremendous. I live my life authentically. I care for myself because I am worth caring for. I live my life in the spirit as to inspire others. My love for self is infinite. I express my love for self openly and confidently. I am perfect in every way. I am worthy of all I am and become. I live my life confidently. I am important. I am strong. I am well. I am courage. I am wealthy. I am peace. I am connected. I am happy. I am respectful. I am passionate. I am caring. I am trustworthy. I am open. I am focused. I am in flow. I am grateful. I am wise. I am clever. I am of value. I am abundant. I am aware. I am authentic. I am love. Now, I don't say any of that to impress you, but look at the shift that's taken place from somebody who almost 7 years ago wasn't here. Like that is incredible when we look at it really logically. But it took the growth and the willingness to crack open. And the important part of this is that the people who I was listening to every day on the audios, think about the messages going inside, were from Zig Ziglar, who's not with us anymore. Wayne Dyer, not with us anymore. Jim Rohn, not with us anymore. These were people who shared their value, their wisdom, their knowledge, their experience, and I still to this day, as they were back then, impacting my lives, and they're not even alive anymore, as well as the likes of Tony Robbins and Oprah Winfrey and Lisa Nichols and so on. So even when we don't have the, or I'm going to just rephrase that, even when we may not think we have the ability to communicate effectively, positively for ourselves, there are people out there in the world who are doing it to help us receive the message we need to help us get through what we're going through right now. And that's been my experience through that, which I just thought I'd share. Mum, I saw you put your hand up.
I know, but I got that involved in what you were saying. I forgot what I wanted to talk about. That's why I put my hand down. Never mind.
Oh, good. I'm sure it'll come back. Is there anything coming up for anybody around this topic, or anything that was shared there that they want to dive
No, I
into?
just wanted to say thank you, Martin, for sharing that. That was wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome, Eva. Thank you. So in regards to this area, this topic, when Napoleon was going through, there's quite a lot in this chapter for those of us who have read it before it goes into specialized knowledge. Well, there's some key areas that I've highlighted. I mean, there's always key areas, as we know, that I highlight anyway in the book. But here it says, no thought, whether it be negative or positive, can enter the subconscious mind without the aid of the principle of autosuggestion. So think about that conversation that's happening deep in the subconscious. All sense impressions which are perceived through the five senses, which we know, taste, sound, touch, and so on, are stopped by the conscious thinking mind and may be either passed on to the subconscious mind or rejected at will. The conscious faculty serves, therefore, as an outer guard to the approach of the subconscious. One of the things that Bob Proctor spoke about was when he got told, I think it was wasn't Raymond Hollywell, it was a guy called Raymond anyway. Raymond Stanford said to him about him shifting through and what he could achieve. And he was 24 at the time. He didn't believe that he was going to be able to go anywhere, but he wanted to achieve more. And Raymond Stanford said to him that if he kept saying it to himself, repeating it to himself, it would become a reality. What he said, and he's read this book for about 50 or 60 years now. Every day he says he reads this book. And you could easily have a conversation and Bob would pull stuff word for word out of the book. That's how much he knows it inside out. But he said that he was reading his goal. He was reading his affirmation every day, over and over and over again. And it ingrained within him to where he actually believed it was going to come true. And he said, you can trick your subconscious mind into it becoming a reality for you. So that thing of, as I said before, I am not worthy, I am of no value, there is no point in being here, was my internal dialogue. But the information on the outside was, you are worthy, you are great, you were born for a purpose. So that stuff going in was actually making me believe that I was, and I was able to shift through. And the people that were around me at the time, especially when I was in the mental hospital, helped me. They believed in me. And I think that's why it's important to especially have what we would class, or what I would certainly class, as a safe space to step into, such as this, where I know Veronica will definitely be able to relate to this, where I've gone on calls and I've been feeling really low, not like as low as I was, but tired and things just like getting on my shoulders. And I've gone in, and literally what would be me facilitating a leader's call has become a call of people sending me energy and helping me heal. And I think that's the power of knowing that the space we're going into, and don't take anything away from our choice to step into it, our choice to be open to it, our choice to receive, because we don't always have to give, we can sit back and receive, but we have to be open to it. And knowing that I can come on and I can press start on a call, or I can click to join a call, and know that I can be 100% transparent, which is the way I always intend to show up. I can be authentic, I can communicate that. And I know that somebody that I've potentially met for the first time on a call, this is no pressure, Catherine, by the way, but the first time I've met on a call will, from a place of a conscious, aware, engaged human being who what we would class as coming from a place of love, will hold space and send that energy across to help. That's what we created here. Some people might go, it sounds all weird and airy-fairy, but that's what we've created, especially in a world right now in society that we live in that needs it more than ever.
Yeah.
So even when our auto suggestion isn't as positive as we may like it to be, we can come and receive what we need from just showing up, just showing up. Is there anything anybody's got? Surely must be, because I've got lots. Yes.
I'll let Ryan go. I saw he came up. It was a
for me, right?
rally here. Yeah.
Once I heard once I understood about the auto suggestion and the power of it, I started using it right away. When I read through the book, I took notes that way. Even though I wasn't reading the book every single day, I could go back into it and just jog my memory and remind myself of the things that spoke to me when I read the book. And one of the things that jumped out to me was, it says, plain, unemotional words do not influence the subconscious mind, right? So it's not just about saying things, at least not at first, because at first you may just have to get in the habit of saying it. But the more you say it, the more you'll get into that habit. And the more you get into that habit, the more you'll actually start to believe the things that you are saying. And for me, what I decided to do with this information is tie it to a goal. So for those of you who don't know, I'm in America. Of course, you can tell by my accent. But my goal is to get to Australia. And for me, it's very important for me to get to Australia. So almost on a daily basis, with anyone that I can have a conversation with, I'm saying I'm moving to Australia because that's where I want to be. I also want to be successful. So I tell people in that conversation as well, I'm going to be successful. And I think for me, the hard part was defining how I'm going to be successful. But for me, that's not the important thing, because that is the journey. And I'm not a fortune teller. I can't predict the future. And I don't know what my journey has in store for me. But there are two things that I know. I'm going to be successful and I'm going to get to Australia. And I've said it enough now that I believe that. I may not be able to tell someone how I'm going to get there because that's the journey, but I know those two things to be true. And that's now in my subconscious. And no matter what I come up against, no matter what obstacles I may face, I know that those two things are going to be true.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing there, Ryan. I'm just curious to know, what is that success?
So for me, success is financial freedom. I want to get to a point where I'm no longer working because I have to. I'm working because I want to. I want to get to a point where any decision that I make isn't based off of how much money I have in the bank. The decision is based off of, I want to do it. And I've set myself up so that I can do it. Not because, let me check and make sure everything is good. No, I want to get to a point where if I want to do something, I'm doing it. And that to me is my definition of success.
Great. Thank you. Beautiful. There's a mentor of mine, Randy Gage, said, most people read the menu from right to left instead of from left to right. They look at what the price is and then they dictate what they're going to eat rather than what they want to eat, and just go for it. And it's like you said there, I don't want to have to live checking if I can afford to do it. If it's something I want to do, I want to be able to do it. So yeah, thanks for sharing there, brother. Veronica.
I'm glad Ryan shared first, actually, because he reminded me of something. Yes, the subconscious mind actually doesn't speak in words. It speaks in pictures, sounds, and feelings. So if you've actually got a symbol that you can create about your success, and you feel around it with all your senses, then it's so much more powerful than just saying the words. And I think that's one of the troubles I have with the chapter on auto-suggestion, is it does feel like you're just trying to beat your subconscious mind into submission, but I know that there are easier ways to do it. Yeah.
Mm.
So when you say there's easier ways to do it, would you elaborate on that, please?
Well, I've learned that through the coaching and all my time with Gary and the processes that he goes through. You know, he's worked with war veterans with PTSD, and he can shift them within half an hour. He can remove that trauma.
Who
And
are you
I've done
talking
it.
about?
I've done it with
Who is
Joe.
it?
Gary, the guy that my coach that we speak to
Oh, I
on
see.
Wednesday morning.
I see.
And I've seen it with even, you know, I'm only just starting my coaching journey, and I've used the processes and I can shift people as well. It's just incredible. And actually, it's not me, it's them. It's just giving them the opportunity and the tools to heal themselves. And it's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that with future pacing as well. So you can actually work out where you want to be, go into a state, hypnotic state, and actually, you know, create the symbols and the sounds and the pictures and what it all looks like, and place that on your timeline.
Yeah.
And that's way easier than just trying to like read something every day or come up with the words every day. It's just so much simpler.
Thank you so much, Veronica, for that, because this reading every day is something I have enormous problems with.
Mm.
Yeah.
We'll have to have a chat, Eva.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I just have my great granddaughter coming in.
Yeah, there's it's definitely interesting. Do you find though with that, Veronica, based on your experience, that there are different learning styles though, or different people shift differently, or not?
Well, everyone's got their own thing that they need to shift, I guess, or that they're working on. So, and if you're not ready to shift something, then it won't happen.
Mm-hmm.
If your subconscious mind is not ready to let it go, if it doesn't think you're ready, then nothing will happen, or very little will happen, and you'll need to just keep working on it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, just was curious because I know some people will. One of the things that Napoleon said, especially as you go through the book, and he constantly kept referring back to faith, and as he got to the end, he was saying that faith is the sense of what you really need to get, the energy of what you need to get, the emotion of what you need to get. And until you practice and understand the other 13 principles, or the other 12 principles, you need this one to finalize it. And it's been interesting because whilst I've been reading My Desire in the morning and the evening, I've noticed at times I'm just reading it, or I'm reading over it, rather than emotionally connecting with it. And that could possibly be because I'm like, I want to go to bed. I'm going to bed now. I'm already creating this story of, I want to detach. But then when I look at the other side and I ask myself the question, because I'm constantly asking myself questions, do I have 100% faith in my ability to achieve this and it become a reality, or I am living this? The answer is always, without a shadow of a doubt, yes. The faith behind it is so clear, more than I've ever had in the past, which is interesting. No, I'm not saying that I've mastered it by any means, but I've never felt this level of confidence in my life. With an investment that I've just done, I've never felt this much faith that it's going to result in exactly the way it's going to result. And I don't know, I can't actually put my finger on it. Like, I suppose the logical brain is trying to process it and make something with it, whereas faith is actually something internal and letting go. And with the infinite intelligence, it's just literally like letting go, divine intelligence. Is there anything on that anyone would like to touch on, or Veronica?
Yeah, the faith is a huge component, and I think when you believe in yourself, as you are developing more of that faith in yourself, you've got faith in what you're actually creating as well. Yeah, and very much the success of the coaching that I've been doing with Gary very much depends on the other person's belief in, what's their spiritual belief. We need to understand that before we can do anything.
And that's not, just so I'm clear, the spiritual belief isn't religion.
Absolutely not religion. So even if their belief is there is nothing when I'm dead, I'm just dust, then it's like, well, okay, so then we've got to make this your best life ever because it's your only life. So what do you want to do? Let's get to it, So,
yeah, cool. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else before I dive into another section that I've been highlighting? Nope. Okay, here. Do not trust to your reason when creating your plan for accumulating. Remember as well, just to be clear, as for anyone who's got the desire, the book is Think and Grow Rich, but it's about the riches in all areas of our lives, not about money. But Hill talks about money in here because of the people he interviewed as well. So if your desire, your burning desire is not related to money, that's perfectly fine, but just appreciate what the message is. Do not trust to your reason when creating your plan for accumulating money through the transmutation of desire. Your reason is faulty. Moreover, your reasoning faculty may be lazy, and if you depend entirely upon it to serve you, it may disappoint you. When visualizing the money you intend to accumulate, this is talking to you now, Ryan, and anybody else, including myself, when visualizing the money you intend to accumulate with closed eyes, see yourself rendering the service or delivering the merchandise you intend to give in return for its money. This is important. So even though this isn't the conversation, I think it goes back to what Veronica said earlier around the energetic, the emotion side of it, the stepping into that feeling and then being clear on what are we going to give. We mentioned earlier on about receiving, giving and receiving, the continuous flow of energy. And when we covered in the previous masterminds, we actually spoke around when we created our desire, and some of us shared, and Napoleon went through and said, get clear on what it is. Then the next step is, what are you going to give in order to receive that? And communicate that to the infinite intelligence, the higher power, your creator, whoever that may be. Communicate that so that when you, and you've written what the time frame for it, and you're very clear. And like you said before, Ryan, there's two things you're going to achieve your success, and you're going to be living in Australia. But you don't have a plan necessarily. You don't have it 100% mapped out on how you're going to get here. The only map you have is that you're here in this location in America, and you want to be here in Australia. And I don't blame you. So the angle of it there is that letting go, but being confident and having faith that it will be a reality and it will unfold, and it will be through people that you meet who will all of a sudden go, oh, I've spoke to this person, and this person will be able to help you maybe. Because I know that when I got clear on leaving the UK, which was literally a instant decision, and I went, I'm out of here, but I want to do it the right way because I'm all or nothing. And I went through the process of residency before leaving the UK. When I made that instant decision, straight away, I contacted a guy that I knew, and he put me in touch with somebody else. And then she went through and said, yeah, you've got all the qualifications and blah, blah, blah. The process got rolling, and every single deadline, because the application was shifting, every deadline I missed by literally a couple of days or a couple of hours. Like, talk about everything happening perfectly. My mum will say it didn't happen perfectly because she wanted me to stay in the UK, but talk about everything coming and being aligned. And I had said, and when I spoke to Christina, for the lady from the migration agency, she said, how do you want to do this? And I said, I'm not attached to how it does. All I want to do is live in Australia. And she was like, we're in Australia. I'm not attached to it. I just know that I'm supposed to live in Australia. And when I came here, I felt like, and I've shared this with my mom and other people, I literally felt like the earth wrapped its arms around me and said, welcome home. That's how it felt for me. I was so clear, but everything else took place without me having to do anything really. It was the connection to the end result, the burning desire of being here. And I think that's where it goes back to what he said, feel into it. What does it feel like to be there? When I came over for a couple of weeks holiday, halfway through my application, it was like, wow. I then, because I had the physical, so I had an intellectual understanding of what it would be like, which to be fair, I actually thought it was like Home and Away, Neighbours and Crocodile Dundee. And it is nothing like that. So when I came here, when I came here, especially in that time, I was then able to have a spiritual connection to what I emotionally felt and then live in that state for the remaining of the 9 months or so of my application before emigrating. And then every day that I live here, I found myself, and this is where I feel we get complacent, and we've got to be aware of that. And I'm very grateful I was aware. Beth and my partner and I, we live travel in Australia. We live on the road, and we're back in Perth at the moment. And it's winter time. There's a lot of rain and it's cold, and Veronica knows it's not very pleasant, but it's the winter. But I've come from 30 odd degrees, blue sky, not seen a cloud. I think I saw clouds for maybe 4 days in 4.5 months, and rain 2 days over 4.5 months. So I'm back. It's cold, it's wet, it's miserable. And I actually said, I pulled myself, because I said, I don't want to be in Perth. I don't like living in Perth, and it just doesn't serve me. And I pulled myself up in that moment. I went, hang on a minute. You came to Perth because you wanted more, and you love Perth, and you refer to it as a paradise. But because you're experiencing something else, you now are associating it with being not as good and as a negative. But it isn't. It's actually balance. It's perfect, because it's helping me now appreciate what I'm experiencing that's new. But when I was in Perth, it was new. So I pulled myself up on the auto-suggestion that isn't necessarily about me. I mean, it is really, when we look at the bigger picture, it isn't necessarily about me, it's about the environment, but it's the way that I'm communicating as I'm evolving. Whereas instead of turning back and going, I am grateful, and this is one of the things I said, I am grateful, sorry, Mum, I am grateful that I live in Australia and have the ability to remain and come back to Perth as my home. Because everything that Perth offers me has helped me become the person that I am. And it's helping me become the person that I will become in the future. So I had to become that level of awareness, and that in itself is incredible. Not blowing my own trumpet, just to have that awareness and reflect back and go, hang on, because we need that. We need that to remember about auto-suggestion.
Yeah.
There must be something, Mum, because you sat there, and there's no way you're going to do it in an hour without talking beyond the principles.
No, I mean, I think, it's been really interesting listening to everything. And a few times I've thought, well, I think a lot of us, especially like Eva and I, because we're the older generation, aren't we, love? And this is how we were taught. So to learn all about, at my age, I only started learning this the more you got involved in it. I never understood about. I was very negative towards myself, my life. I think it was only when my mum died, that was the first time in my life I actually thought she would come back from Lourdes, where she died. That was the first positive I ever thought about. And she didn't come back. So I was really, really struggling then, because how do I then come back from that when it was the first time I'd really thought of a positive and it didn't happen? So for a long time, since I was like in my 40s and that, I mean, the way I used to speak to you and Kevin, I used to always say, be careful. And Kev said, don't say be careful, Mum, because you put doubt in my head. But it was the way we spoke in them days. So now it's taken me, and it still is massive. I have this huge fear when Dave's driving that we're going to have an accident, because it's a bit like that when Dave drives. But I know that by thinking that is wrong. but it's very, very, and it's the feeling. It's not like you were talking about before, Veronica. It's not the thought, it's the feeling of the accident, not the thought, if that makes sense. Yeah, sounds like I do. Yeah. So it's all really interesting, and trying to weigh up where you are in. I'm thoroughly with Ryan on don't say I can't. You know, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Mum. Ladies and gentlemen, well, I suppose we can say gentlemen because there's two of us, because it's usually only me. We're surrounded by a beautiful groom of ladies, which is the way I love it. But I don't mind letting Ryan in with his groovy glasses. Look, it's come to the hour mark, and I am conscious of the time. So thank you all for participating and being here. It's lovely as well to have you as a new member on the call as well, Catherine. So thank you for joining us and sharing. Hopefully we'll see you again. And it was great to see you again, Ryan. I've missed you, buddy. Really, I've missed you. So great to see you, and so happy to hear of the news of your partner being pregnant. First child along the way, so well done, buddy. And as always, Veronica, Eva, and my mum. What? Sorry, Eva?
Sorry, I just wanted to ask what's the plan for next week. Sorry, I didn't.
No, that's perfectly fine. Next week, I can't remember what I said we're gonna be covering next week. I think we're just going straight onto specialized knowledge. We're just going to go back through. I do have some ideas for when we launch the whole new membership portal within NG, what we're going to be doing. But for now, we're just going to go through these, and especially because when we what was it? Probably about 2 months ago now, we went through Desire. And we want to really be making sure people are going through the process and connecting with the important steps to achieving their burning desire, which is that's why I've gone back and I'm going into that. We talked about faith last week because some people were very much disconnected, not connecting with their level of faith. Their auto-suggestion was all out of whack. And that's why I want to really create this space where we can come and just create that awareness, like I said before, around being out of Perth and coming back, create the awareness as how we're communicating to ourselves externally and being open to, as Ryan showed before, around receiving feedback, positive criticism. If we're open to it, we're going to grow. If we're not, we're going to stay where we are. So thank you all once again. On Friday, we'll be dropping in the group as to your 3 big takeaways. So please feel free to share, because it's always good to read. We all received things differently. I know that when Beth and I read the Working with the Laws, we literally read the chapter together side by side, and we both highlighted completely different things. We never highlighted the same thing in our books, which is really interesting because that's how we learn from each other, especially when it's expressed. So go and have yourself a wonderful day, evening, wherever you are in the world. For the Gold Star and Vault members, we're on in 30 minutes, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye for now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.